Gunnery Sergeant Red Cathcart turned over the pistol in his young hands, his nimble fingers. It had a brass barrel and a bone handle. He had found it in some rubble, some museum they blew king hell out of just a few nights back, and picked it up as a souvenir. Raheem darted through the rubble. The soldiers had long gone. The bombs were silent. This part of the city was destroyed, and for Raheem, it was a playground. He, the small Iraqi boy in his baggy pants and Bart Simpson t-shirt, laughed and dodged imaginary bullets. He did a rough and tumble roll under some blasted hunks of concrete and rebar, and when he returned to his feet, he found himself bathed in sunlight filtered through cracks in the ceiling above, motes of dust drifting down like angels. Glass lay everywhere. A pillar, once painted gold, had half of it blown out like a toothy bite from a giant. And beneath it sat a dark wooden case. It lay open, its inside draped in red velvet. Something lay swaddled in the soft cloth. Raheem unwound it. He found an old pistol, so old he couldn't imagine how it worked. Its handle may have been made of bone. He held it up and pretended to shoot, "Paku, Paku," and then ran off, laughing once more. "Sucker's old as fuck," Richmond muttered, sticking some chore in his mouth. "Older than my grandmother's pussy," Martinez cackled. But Cathcart wasn't listening. Up until now, the gun had felt empty. Light. Like it wasn't real, like it was missing something. Suddenly, it got heavy in his hands. Like he had a new mission, not from the Corps but from some higher, crueler source. For a moment, he thought he saw a boy's face in his mind's eye, laughing, maybe at him, it was hard to tell. His heart beat faster. His hand coiled around the old flintlock pistol. The tools of conquest do not necessarily come with explosions and bombs, and not necessarily with bombs and fallout. They're explosions and fallout. There are weapons that are simply thoughts, attitudes, prejudices, attitudes, prejudices. Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone. This is the definition of the word storied, recorded or celebrated in history or story, the storied cities of ancient Greece, ornamented with designs representing historical, legendary, or similar subjects. Storied weapons can be weapons recorded in either history or mythology, or items ornamented with designs representing historical or legendary subjects. Often, these are weapons with place of pride in some horrific legend. Therefore, both definitions could be considered true. The world's full of sadists, despots, and murderers who had weapons with which they came to identify. An old Beretta that keeps showing up in the hands of students who go on to commit school shootings, a weapon that never shows up in the evidence store. The treasured machete of a Burmese warlord that burns with his lust for power. The club used to slay policemen during poll tax riots in the UK, still inspiring people to violent revolution. Each of these weapons has a history, each one is immortalized in the whispered tales of criminals, veterans, and law enforcement. Moreover, each of these weapons has a terrible price that a wielder must pay before it will accept him. All of the weapons have a cost. This doesn't measure the price, these weapons are unique, acting as characters in a story like any other storyteller character. Instead, the cost is either some ordeal that the character must go through in order to obtain the weapon, often the case for old weapons that have stringent restrictions on who may use them, or the consequences that a character must suffer for using the weapon. A character cannot avoid paying the price of a storied weapon, she's a part of the weapon story as much as it is a part of hers. If she does try to duck out of the consequences due her, she can be sure that they will strike even worse as a result of her presumption. Whatever force empowers these mysterious weapons, whether it's the devil or the collective fears of humanity, cannot be cheated. These weapons are both blessed and cursed, burdened by their history and drawn to the hands that might use them.